Here, make sure you saw the agenda and signed it if you didn't. Board members, would you take a moment to look over the agenda, and would someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as is?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. The agenda has been adopted. Due to the vacancy of our board position by Mrs. Monk, we need to elect a vice chair. So, nominations are open for vice chair.
Pat Warnocker.
I second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? The motion has carried. Okay, we have some commendations. Tonight, could we start with the elementary? Mrs. Book and Mr.
Mrs. Arnold, I don't see our
Student.
representatives yet, so maybe we'll just.
Okay, how about the middle school? Are you ready?
I would love to go. Can I have Miss Olivia Esselburn please come up? Yeah. Okay, I got a few words to say about you from your teachers. It says, this is from Miss Fournier. Olivia's been a bright spot of my day all year. Since the first day of school, she's been eager to learn, enthusiastic to start our educational journey together. She works well individually and in a group. She's a self-motivated learner and goes above and beyond on each assignment. She asks questions and voices her opinion. She is kind and caring. She would make an excellent teacher. Just putting that out there. Olivia's positive attitude has been wonderful. Your brains, your grit, your determination, and creativity are just some of the things I admire about you. Thank you for your inspiration and support this year. Ms. Fournier said, I'm so glad to have Olivia recently transferred in my class. Otherwise, I'd never had the privilege to get to know her. She is kind, smart, happy, optimistic, engaged, prepared, inquisitive, and very intelligent. That's a whole list of nice words. I can always count on her to be hardworking, asking valid questions when necessary, and even helping others when needed. I look forward to watching her grow and learn. I'm sure great things are in her future. She already has plans to attend the University of Oregon, and I have no doubt she'll someday make her dream come true. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Okay, high school, are you ready?
All right. All right, so have a senior for you. 99% attendance, excellent grades. She's intelligent, talented, and one of the most crazy fun students on campus. So, Trinity, come on down. So, Infinity's pretty awesome. We're going to miss her. I always joke around about saying I want to see the freshmen and keep my seniors. But when she's a member of FFA and FBLA, and recently got her state degree. And I just want to read a few other things your teacher said. I'll start with Mr. Lamb. I think there's an inside joke here, so if I don't get this, it can help us. Infinity does the Nissa High School toilet paper each month. She is an A student and a leader in college writing. So I love that she does college writing, but she also does our newspaper, another thing in the restroom. Infinity is kind and says good morning and have a great day each day to me. She color coordinates with labels her assignments for colorblind Mr. Lamb. I could go on all day, but unfortunately my time is not always in Mr. Lamb. And then Mrs. Vargas says, congratulations on being Student of the Month, Infinity. I am not exaggerating when I say you are an amazing human being. You are kind, hardworking, thoughtful, intelligent, and absolutely hilarious, and it's true. I admire your passion for the kind and just treatment of everyone, and I know you are out to do good in the world after graduation. I will miss you, but I can't wait to hear about all the good that you do. That's from Mrs. Vargas. And the last one is Mr. Sapp. He wrote a book. I'm gonna pick out 2 highlights, okay? And the most fun one you gotta read. Okay. It says, this is Mr. Sapp. Since the first day of class began in 2022, you have brought a joy of intensity. You have brought a joy and intensity that rarely go together. The personality you display, along with your hard work and studious efforts, is a unicorn that I have rarely seen. Rare is the day that a person improves the climate of such a large place in operations such as a school, and yet you have done this with your diligent work and engaging personality. Thank you, Infinity, for having the courage to be yourself and for making your school a better place every day. I have all the confidence in the world that you will take these qualities out into the world and make it a better place. Congratulations on your award, a long overdue recognition. And that's Mr. Sapp. And so we have cards for you. And then, right here. Okay. Congratulations.
And the high school has our Employee of the Month. It is my pleasure to recognize Jamie Hamilton as Employee of the Month. Jamie. Jamie is seemingly everywhere at once. She's a very hard worker and always gets the job done. She's always on the job, it seems like. She gets here earlier than anyone else and tirelessly making sure that school is clean and ready to go. She'll do anything asked of her and is always willing to lend a hand anywhere she's needed. She never stops moving. She's always on the go. Mrs. Vargas said, Jamie, without you, I would literally be too disgusted by the high school to come to work every day. You make everything we do possible. We're all lucky to get to work with you. I enjoy our conversations, and I appreciate that you are always kind to me and everyone else. Thank you for everything you do, and congratulations on being Employee of the Month. The honor is well deserved. And Mr. Sapp said, Jamie is a blessing to our school. She's a very hard worker. She's always doing anything she can to make our students' day better. The school is a better place because of Jamie as a worker, but also as a parent. Jess, Josh, and Jimmy are absolutely wonderful humans that have been amazing for our school. Proof of the wonderful environment Jamie and her husband have created at their home. Thank you for all you do, Jamie. Well earned, Mr. Sapp.
Okay, now we'll go to the elementary.
Okay, we have the honor of introducing 2 students tonight. I'm going to let Ms. Book begin.
So I have the honor of introducing Blake Baker, our K through 3rd recipient. So Blake, come on up. Okay, and Mrs. Fisher says, even though Blake is a very high academic student, he still strives to do better each day. He wants to help others because he understands that teaching others is the best way to grow his knowledge about those subjects. He is kind to all and hasn't had behavior problems. I am very impressed with his growth this year and will love to see where he goes from this point. And Mr. Tracy, our PE teacher, says, Blake is a very well-mannered student. I can always count on him to follow the rules and do what is right. He's been a pleasure to have in class. Thank you, parents, for doing such a great job. So here's your certificates.
Good job.
All right, and our 4th, 5th grade student of the month is Atsiri Tapia Salcedo. Atsiri, come on up. Atsiri is a student in our dual language class, and on the English side, Mr. Bunker says that Atsiri has made huge strides toward her personal growth in both education and relationships with others since the beginning of her 4th grade year. She's been with these two teachers for the last 2 years. I am proud of her efforts to show respect, responsibility, and safety. One particular event comes to mind. She had to work with her team in order to decode a math puzzle. Was a great listener to her team's ideas, as well as adding her own ideas, which were spot on. Her team ended up winning due to tremendous team effort. And Mr. Morrison on the Spanish side says that Odd City is full of energy and has made a real effort to improve herself throughout the year, especially in her math fluency, where she ended up with an average of 69 of 70 correct in all 4 areas of work, which are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of basic facts. She's also increased her reading fluency from 27 to 71 words per minute. Again, very strong growth. So we're very proud of you, Siri, our 4th, 5th grade student.
If those of you who got an award would like to step out in the hall, they'll take your pictures for the paper, and you can grab a treat on your way. And if you want to come back, you're welcome to come back. So let's have everybody that got an award step out in the hall for a picture with their families. Don't forget to grab a treat. Okay, now we have a different type of commendation, one that I did 3 or 4 years ago or so. We have some retirees. So if Brett, Luke, and Gina will come forward and introduce some of their people that are retiring.
You want me to go first? You want to go first?
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna bring mine up. It's Miss Anne Fournier. Come on down. Okay, Anne does not like people talking about her, so I promised it would be short. First thing I'll tell you, Anne was my first hire as a principal. And Anne can tell you this story, but she probably can't tell in public, right? I told her, really the rule was, Anne, don't screw up, you're my first hire. Really what it was. And there's not a day I've regretted it. I'll tell you that right now. If you know Anne, you know that Anne's probably got one of the sweetest hearts of any person I know. Coupled with that, she's got a space in the world for all kinds of different people. Her rooms are really inviting, safe space for all our kids. It's a really inviting, safe space for all our adults. You can go to Anne and you can ask her anything and she'll do it for you, or she'll give you advice and say, no, that's a really bad idea. So just doesn't give in to you. The things I enjoy about her are simple things like doing bulletin journals with kids, right? Making sure that we're doing things like their life story in their class to share information about them and their families and to kind of see where they want to be in their life and where they've been. Those are just great engagement activities that she's done with all our kids for many years. Whether it's them doing career research projects where they want to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. So tons of things just besides the English language arts, really developing kids and also developing the adults. She's also a very good cook. If you don't know that, she brings snacks for all our stuff. So I'm going to miss her. Obviously, it's going to be a really hard person to replace, and I just thank her for the time that she was able to give the Nissa School District after she gave a bunch of time to the Fruitland School District also. So, Anne, congratulations, and it's well deserved, and that's all I'm going to say, so you can go home. Okay. Get the box so it doesn't break. Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, she was one of my mentor teachers when I was student teaching, and the other one is also going to be recognized. You want to get a
Mr. Duffy?
Yes. Alrighty. Well,
Oh, I wish I wasn't doing this. I wish you could just stay. You know, I have some write-ups here, but I think I just want to share from my heart. So, Jolene O'Connor, she wasn't the first one I hired. In fact, I think she was on the committee that hired me. And so she was one of the first people I met when I came to NISA. And what I've seen is for the last 4 years, showing up every single day, ready to support and teach and love our students. And it's just incredible. She works with our freshmen, our most restless freshmen, and the words patiently persistent come to mind. And she is patient, but she's persistent. She's at them until she gets results, and I love that. Patiently so that she doesn't, push them away or have a power struggle, but persistent enough that they succeed. And then she also works with our seniors, where she is also patiently persistent, making sure that they have their career transitions class completed and ready so that they are on track for graduation. They can't graduate. They can't get out of our school without her help. Another thing I really appreciate is she won't let me get too far off track as a principal, and I super appreciate that. Whether it's state testing or textbook adoption or accreditation or just those words of encouragement when I need it, she's been there and been a huge help for the last 4 years. You're coming back to sub, right?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have to get emotional because she's coming back to sub. Okay. Anyway, I want one write-up. Says, Mrs. O'Connor as a teacher is always up to help improve the lives of students in any way that she can. She has always been someone I can go to as a teacher, and I know she will be professional and courteous to me and the students as well. We are lucky to have Mrs. O'Connor as a teacher here and a mentor to our kids, and that's why Mrs. O'Connor. And so, anyway, I want you to know that you are absolutely loved and admired by students and staff, and you're going to be greatly missed.
Do I get the purple first?
Actually, if you want to hold that, and you don't have to have the
Thank you.
Right, what's you?
It's a pleasure working with this.
It's been well, and part of that is because you've been here to create that school in that district. Thank you.
Thank you. So I just want to take a minute to thank Terry for her years of service. Just wanted to give you a little words. So as you prepare to embark on the next phase of your life, we wanted to take a moment to express our gratitude for your 28 years of service. You have dedicated to serving our school district as a valued member of our food service team. Your loyalty, dependability, and punctuality has been an inspiration to all of us, and we will miss your presence in our daily operations. Over the years, you have touched the lives of countless students, faculty, and staff with your warm smile, your kind words, and your delicious meals. Your unwavering commitment to excellence and passion of serving others has set a high standard for others to follow. We are grateful for the legacy that you leave behind and the positive impact that you have had on our community. We wish you the best as you embark on your new journey of retirement, and may this new chapter be filled with joy, peace, fulfillment. Thank you for your dedication, your service, and for being an integral part of our school district food service, and we will be greatly missed and impact our community for years to come.
would like to speak? I hear there's one.
I believe we have visiting patron, our junior class president. Oh, okay.
But
She can do that then.
Okay.
Okay, get up.
Okay, I guess we'll have a report from our student body president. Staff, come on up.
Good evening, school board members and community members. I'm happy that my schedule allowed me to be here today for our last school board meeting and that I will be attending as the ASB president. I don't know how many of you have worked in or been a part of all that happens in May at a high school, but it's a lot. So that is what I want to leave you with. How much work is put into educating us as well as involving us in the fun, exciting activities of a high school. So here's what has been and will be going on at the high school. Prom went off without a hitch on the 29th of April. There was also baseball and softball doubleheaders that day, which us girls won both games. That same day, FFA had their plant sales. Last I heard, they still had a few plants for sale. Bulldog seniors are preparing to say their goodbyes, and my mom is working hard to make sure we are all prepared. We raised a ton of money, and we'll be able to go to Lagoon and Wahoo's. May the 4th, the NMS and NHS band put on a heck of a Star Wars themed band concert. May 5th, track went to Burns and ran their hearts out. May 6th, softball and baseball doubleheaders in Riverside. If you don't know, that's nearly in Portland, but nonetheless, both teams won both their games. This week is state testing for math, as well as welding students are testing for their certs, and our nursing students are running around asking for volunteers to let them practice their phlebotomy skills. They need 30 volunteers, so if you're brave, give them a call. May 10th is our giant awards banquet at 7. I would like to encourage all who can come to do so. It is pretty cool, and there's cake and punch afterwards. This week is also Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank a teacher. Baseball and softball will wrap up our league seasons this week with a visit to Burns and a doubleheader on Friday the 12th versus Enterprise for our senior night. And then tennis districts is on May 12th and 13th. May 17th, the seniors who are passing and on track to graduate will head to Wahoo's for a day of fun. May 19th and 20th, track has districts in Vail. May 20th, HOSA is having a yard sale. May 23rd is seniors' last real day of school. I think most of us are excited, but we'll end up being a little bit sad. May 24th, state track starts in Eugene and goes till the 26th. Seniors will come at 7:45 on May 24th, dressed in our cap and gowns and practice for the big day. Miss Reese is there right on time every year, so God be with anyone who's late.
Say it louder.
Say it.
Say it louder. I can't hear a word she's saying.
It was a joke at your expense, so you know.
That's the way it goes. Oh, it was at my expense.
The parade of graduates will be happening at 8:25 a.m. We will head through the district office to the elementary school, to the middle school, and finish at the high school. Mr. Boyer's annual middle school/high school art show will be on display all day. Go check out what talented artists we have. May 25th is 9 through 11's last day of school. May 26th, the teachers finally get a break, and that is their last day of school. May 28th, graduation at 1 p.m. Class of 2023 will be there at 11 to take pictures. And then you guys will get to listen to one last speech from me. And then May 29th, Class of 2023 will head to Lagoon at the earliest time I've ever needed to be awake, 4:30 in the morning, and we'll shut the park down. If any of you guys are wanting to chaperone, we may be in need, so call my mom for more details. To close, I would like to thank you for allowing me to present to you what is happening at the high school throughout the year. And I would also like to thank the people who make this place the best place to be a student. I couldn't imagine not being a Bulldog. And then I can answer any questions you guys might have.
Lucy, thank you for sharing this year. We appreciate it.
I have one question.
Okay.
So you did construction, but yet this is a really job to support in your life? But thank you.
It's good to know the boss.
And then Amber and Allie wanted to come up and talk.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so my name is Amber Draper, and I am the current junior class president, and I'm going to run for ASC president, and hopefully do as good of a job as Lauren does. She's great. And then this is Allie Peterson, and she's been working very closely with the sophomore class president, who cannot be here tonight, so that's our other representative. And I'm not super prepared because 2 weeks ago I sent out the email about getting access to the possible 2023 to 2024 school calendar, and I did not get I got a response back to that, and then was not able to get further information on the school calendar until today when my principal called me in and was able to discuss with me the school calendar. So I barely got that information today, and looking at it, and I've heard some possible things, and I've definitely come up with a couple concerns that I have about it, and I've been discussing with some of my fellow students and my peers in my grade and other grades, and there's just a couple concerns and questions that we have about the possible calendar, and we're hoping that we can bring some answers and clarification on those tonight. So I was able to confirm that today, that the possible one would go 2 weeks into June, and I was able to talk about this a couple weeks ago just as a potential thing to happen with some of my fellow friends, and a lot of them are people who work in the farms in the summer, and it kind of stressed them out a little bit because they know that that would be 2 weeks that they wouldn't be able to raise money. And I actually have a friend whose all of her income actually goes to her family. All of her money that she makes in the summer goes to her parents and helps her support her family, and so that would be really hard for her to lose 2 weeks of that. And the seniors would actually graduate 2 weeks before that, according to the calendar, and the grades 9 through 11 would still be required to go to school for the next 2 weeks. And so I'm not sure if kids would actually do that, and I think we would lose a lot of attendance there. Another thing that we talked about is, I know, and I have a lot of friends, and I know of some people who actually go to school to eat, and they depend on the school lunches, and if we did not have a Friday, that would be one day every single week that they're not getting that school money or school food. And so I think that would be a little bit hard for those families that are kind of depending on the school food. So I don't know if there's a way for us, if we do go to a 4-day week, to have the school still provide food on Fridays for those people who depend on that. Another thing is a lot of parents both of the parents are working on Fridays because majority of jobs do work 5 days, and I don't know where their kids would go or if they'd have to start paying for babysitters because their kids would no longer be at school. Another thing with that is that we'd be teaching kids that it's normal to not work 5 days and that they would only be required to go to school 4 days a week, and so that might be creating bad habits for future jobs that they would have as soon as they graduate. Another thing that I discussed with my principal is there would be a possible loss of electives from grades 9 through 11. And as a senior, I'm not too worried about that because I would still have 3 electives, but it really concerns me because I have a brother who's coming into his freshman year, and I have a sister who's in 6th grade that's going to be coming into high school eventually, and they want to be able to follow the same path that I did. I was able to participate in seminary, weights, honors, which includes some Spanish classes and extra classes that I was able to take, and ag. And so I think that some of our programs might suffer from that, such as FFA, weights, woodshop. Our seminary program could suffer, and a bunch of other, art. Yes, my sister does art too, and she would have to choose between weights, art, and seminary. So that would be another hard thing for that.
And that's especially hard because there's some people that are required to take certain things or have their electives set aside specifically for these electives. Like, we always keep in mind to set our electives aside for seminary. And for people such as the immigrants, they have an elective automatically set aside for classes such as ELB. And as a freshman, you have to have a CTE credit, and so that already takes away another elective. And it's really hard to work around only having 2 electives when you have all these things you want to do and explore.
And I was actually able to talk with my principal today, and he said there's 4 things that, what was it? It was 4 things that, like he talked about the 4 things that students need to like be successful in high school, and one of them was a class that they love. And that's a lot of our electives. And being a student, I know that classes can not be fun sometimes, and like I really enjoy being able to go and work out for 45 minutes a day, and going to seminary and going to ag, and just being able to be part of those classes. And they split up my day between 45 minutes of math and 45 minutes of English and science and stuff. And so that's kind of why I love going to school, is because of my electives and because it's balanced with learning also. So I'm also not only learning my basic core classes, but I'm also learning stuff that pertains to my future and stuff that I can use after high school. And so these are just some of our concerns, and I have been starting to get the word out to other students, because I feel like when the school sent out an email about 4 days versus 5 day, there wasn't a lot of background information with that. And it could be just because they weren't sure yet or anything, but a lot of students just click the 4-day button because like if you just are choosing between vegetables and candy, you're just gonna choose candy, you know? Like it's just a thing like that. And so I think it'd be a little bit more beneficial to get the actual information out about what it would look like, and so students can actually choose what their future school would look like. And I know that I only have 1 year left, and she only has 2 years left, but this could be something that is carried on to my 6th grade sister. And I just really want to make sure that the school is best for my siblings and for upcoming people coming into all grades. And so these are just our concerns, and we hope you can take them into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I really appreciate being part of the meeting up to this point. The people that are recognized are retirees, and hearing from our student leaders are really impressive. So thank you for that. I want to start tonight, of course, as always, with the enrollment. As you can see, our May enrollment numbers were down just a few students from last month. We don't always know what that's attributed to, but we are holding steady. It's within about 5 students from last month. I want to take just a minute to express appreciation to publicly. I mean, we're on camera here, so that little camera over there broadcasts our meeting throughout whoever wants to watch. I mean, you could be in a foreign country and be watching, but just express appreciation for this Teacher Appreciation Week. I want to. They have 2 items here, number 2 and number 4 on my superintendent's report. So. We had, this year, I was able to, the state of Oregon made available a grant. It's called the HB 4030, or House Bill 4030 grant, which was titled the Teacher Retention and Recruitment Grant, or the Educator Retention and Recruitment Grant. And so we formed a committee to meet, to talk about what to do with that money. It was approximately, I know Crystal's a lot more exact than I am, but it was 171,000. I know that you would say the rest of the numbers down to the cents, but I can't remember. So it was 171,000. Our committee met to figure out how we could spend that money in keeping our teachers that we have here, not just teachers, but all educators, and attract new people that love working in NISA. And so that has been such an incredible success this year that we actually spent through all of that money in tuition reimbursement, in sign-on bonuses, in recruitment bonuses, people who are recruiting friends or family or whoever to work here, and they eventually get hired. And so that was incredibly successful to be able to do that. And I was having a budget meeting last week, concerned about what's it to. So I sent an email, an ill-advised email to our district, and I realize at this point, very bad timing and very bad messaging for are educators who still want to take advantage of that grant for tuition reimbursement in particular. So I basically said we're out of money, and I did not say it. In a later email, I did clarifying that we are trying to find ways to address the need or the desire when people began this school year thinking, well, I'm going to get some tuition reimbursement for the classes I'm taking. That was a great hope, and then we cut it off, and that was a bad timing on my part. So I just publicly want to say that was not my proudest moment, but we are, as a district office staff, Mr. Hawkins and Crystal Rideau and I have been working to find some funds. We've spoken with others who have our board who are concerned about that as well. I just want to publicly address that and say we do appreciate our teachers. It's not just Teacher Appreciation Week. We appreciate our teachers all year long, our educators, everyone who works here. We saw 3 people retire tonight, and they spent, if not all of their career, a large majority of their career here. And so we want people to know that we appreciate the work they do here in NISA. And so my email, being worried about balancing a budget, was not well timed and not well messaged. And so I did send a follow-up email to all people saying, all of our staff saying, hey, we're looking for ways to try to meet this need. So anyway, we all know that money is not, and we don't have an endless amount of money, and we do have to be responsible about that. And so I just publicly want to thank all our teachers this week, because it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and there will be some fun activities and celebrations for all the. But anyway, so I want to combine those two, so the HB 4030. Just an update on that. Our migrant program, I know that's a concern in the community, and I wish I could have more answers for everybody. It's an ongoing situation there. We continue to work with the Oregon Department of Education and our consortium partners. We're in a consortium with Vail and Adrian. They do not have very many migrant students at those 2 districts, and so we lead that and try to figure out how to spend the money that the state allocates. So we continue to work with all of them and try to share up, well, I do share updates with the board from time to time and as much as I can with the community regarding that situation. We spoke a little bit earlier about a recent bus accident that we had, and that tends to gather a lot of notice, and we had a middle school tennis group going to Payette to compete. It was their last competition of the year. Unfortunately, another driver, I don't know, made a bad decision or lost control of the vehicle and ran into our bus in Fruitland on the way there. I just want to thank all people who participated in helping our students and our driver, who is, of course, all of them were shaken up. If you have ever been involved in a car accident, it's very upsetting, it's stressful, it's worrisome, and it's complicated by having the driver, of course, upset because now you're responsible for a lot of students. And so we had many parents who were nearby the bus. We had a local business in Fruitland there who were very attentive and responsive to helping our students and the driver. Coaches were remarkable in how they helped and called parents. And so I just want to thank everybody. There were minor injuries, but thankfully nothing major. The bus is going to need to be replaced, so, but all of our people are safe. And so I just want to make sure you do that. And that is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Crystal?
Good evening. Tonight I have financials through April 30th of this year. First report in your packet is of our general fund. Just quickly go over the revenue that came in and the expenditures that went out during the month of April. Our state school fund was finally adjusted. They do it twice a year, referring to our ADMW. And so that got adjusted, and so our payments are now reflecting the MyTech High numbers. So that's why we received such a large state school fund payment. They're adjusting. So our revenue for the month, 1.9 million, and then our expenditures for the month, 1.3. So that's bringing our cumulative balance that we need to finish out the year to a little over 3.2. Remember, we'll get a state school fund payment, our last payment in the month of May, and then we receive nothing for the month of June. So we have to have that money last us through June 30th of 2023. Like always, I provide the local government investment pool breakdown of both of our accounts and our taxes that we received this month. I'll kind of go quickly if you don't have questions on that. Our middle school bond fund, we ended April at almost $371,000. Our debt service payment that is due very soon is almost $345,000, so we have enough money to cover that. And then they'll probably put our account down to about $26,000, and we'll just rebuild collecting taxes on that account for our next payment in December of 2023. I've provided an early Head Start operating statement. They ended the month of April almost at $43,000. Following that is our food service. End of April, they ended a little over $51,000. And then our approval of the bills report. This is everything that was paid out from the district from April 4th to May 2nd when your packets went out to you. And following that is our payroll report for the month of April, all the payroll that came out. Also included for your reading pleasure, the Miller-Nash invoice for the month. And then the final thing that I've decided I should add to your packets every month is a breakdown of the HVAC project, since it's about ready to start. It's coming very soon. So on one side, it shows where our funding is coming from, as we're using ESSER funding and general fund funding to pay for that. So I broke it out so it matches our budget, so you can see where the money's coming from. And then on the flip side of that, everything that's already been paid so far. And I don't know if Darren said that the AC units are here, and that was my biggest concern. So that's good, because if we didn't get those, then we couldn't finish the project. But they're here, so if anyone have any questions, I know I went through that really fast, but.
Any other questions? Thank you, Crystal. Okay, if you want to take a minute and look over number 9, the consent agenda. There are some hires and some resignations. And if someone would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Okay, there is no old business. We do have some new business. The first thing is our math curriculum adoption. Kathleen and Roger, I guess, are going to present that.
Hello. So I'm gonna apologize for reading this, but I want to make sure I cover everything that I want to tell you. So, math adoptions only happen once every 7 years, for good reason, because they're a lot of hard work. I'm really excited about what we're proposing to adopt this year. The process we took for choosing our picks started with schools working together to set some goals, and then finding a fit within those goals for each building. First and foremost, we created a math adoption committee. And we had high school, middle school, and representatives from every elementary grade working together to make this important decision. One thing the Math Adoption Committee could agree on was we wanted a curriculum that was engaging for students, would get students talking, and would continuously review math that the students had learned. Because learning doesn't stick if you're not talking about it and not reviewing it periodically. So those were kind of our 3 big things that we were really looking for this time around. With those ideas in mind, we watched 2 to 3 days per level of math caravans. This was a virtual parade of publishers that showed us some highlights about every curriculum that had been approved by the state. So the state went through and verified everything and then said, this is the group we can choose from. After that, each school looked at the math materials at Malheur ESD and Vail. Malheur ESD was kind enough to order a sample set of nearly everything the state had approved. So the schools looked at all of it and narrowed it down. Then the real business of getting down to final choices happened at the school level. Many teachers perused and piloted materials, and there were many conversations and votes, and then they came up with their selections. So I'll share a bit about the selections that were made by the elementary school and high school, and then Mr. Hunter is going to share the specifics of the middle school process and their selection too. So elementary recommends adopting Reveal by McGraw-Hill, and we have some samples here if you wanted to take a look at them. You can pass them down. We have a kindergarten sample, a 5th grade sample, and a 2nd grade sample, if you're curious about what they might look like. So the best attributes of this program are the engaging warm-ups that get students talking, and 2 ways to teach each lesson. So after the warm-up, there's actually 2 completely different ways that you can get to the main core of the thing. One way is through a hands-on exploration, and another way is through direct style, like a direct instruction lesson. And we really liked that because then teachers could pick and choose. Today, we have some time. We can do some exploration with math. Today, we need to drive home just straight to the lesson. It also gave us lots of room for growth at the elementary school in teaching. It also has math probes in the middle of units for teachers to evaluate how it's going and make changes. And it also has spiral review to keep going back to learning from previous lessons. So those were the 3 things. Engagement, it reviews, and it would get kids talking about math. In addition to Reveal, as the consumable workbook and curriculum, we would also like to go with NWEA MAP testing, which is a diagnostic test that works with the curriculum to give us a complete picture of the student and how we can support them using the curriculum. We would also like to propose just 1 year of the online personalized learning program, Redbird or Alex, depending on what the age level is, that would be replacing our current ST Math. We want to make sure it's a good fit for our students, and we were unable to pilot it. That's why we're only asking for 1 year of that, because we want to make sure it's a good fit. Now I'm going to jump to the high school. The high school is also recommending adopting Reveal by McGraw-Hill. So I don't have any high school books right now, but they're adopting from the same publisher, although it looks very different at high school level, obviously. The best attributes are engaging lesson openers that show where in the real world the topics in math, in high school math are, well-constructed lessons, and what we also liked was ways to catch up kids that miss by using videos and mini lessons so that we can catch those kids that are missing class. It also has Geometry Sketchpad for interactive learning. For the same reason, as I mentioned with the elementary, they are also adopting the NWEA MAP testing, and will be adopting Alex as the personalized online learning program, which will be a first at the high school. So they are adopting for 7 years because they've never had anything to compare it to. So they were ready to jump in. And Alex was really appropriate at the high school, so they felt really comfortable being able to do that. The high school would also like to adopt EdGems as a program to help prepare high school students who aren't ready for Algebra 1. And Mrs. Woodruff is going to come up and talk a little bit about EdGems as well in just a minute. But before I hand it off to Mr. Hunter and Mrs. Woodruff, I would like to thank all the teachers, administrators, and instructional assistants for all the extra work they put into selecting these recommendations this year. I really appreciate it. They really went above and beyond it. This was really an extensive review of these materials. So I really want to thank them for all their time. Do you have any questions for me, or do you want to hear about the other 2 and then you can ask me some questions?
I just want to thank you for explaining why the one had 1 year and the others had 7.
Okay.
I didn't understand that.
Yes, yeah. And some of the other changes, like one has 6 years and one has 5 years, that's as far as their contract will go. So they only allow us to purchase in those chunks.
Is the company going to come and train the teachers and the staff?
All the training is virtual these days. So it will be an online training.
They don't come.
They don't come.
Zoom. We discovered Zoom recently.
Yes.
So I want to take just a minute, apologize if there's any interruptions, but just to thank Kathleen for the work she has done. I know she thanked all the teachers, and that is rightly so, but we don't want to forget her and the work that she has done to carry this out. It is a very big adoption. Coordinating with a lot of people, a lot of meetings, and so thank you for your work.
And thank you for answering my questions this morning.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
Mr. Hunter, we have on this.
Okay, I'll be brief. Oh, I have a hand up. Megan, you already got the PDF of this, right? You go 10-second summary.
I think they already have a copy of that.
Do they already have it?
We'll take it.
If
Did
it's
you
the
guys
same
already
one
have a
you
copy?
sent
Oh, you made copies for them?
Yeah.
Fabulous, so did I. That's all right, we can reuse the paper. Okay, so first let me tell you what we are proposing to adopt. First off, we want to keep the iReady diagnostic. Having 8 years of data on that has been fabulous. I would love if we could keep it across all the grades, but if elementary and high school are adopting a different diagnostic, I bet there is a way that we can find a way, if I can download the scores, to still find some way to track that across grades. There's got to be a way to do that.
You'll find a way, I know.
We'll do our best. Okay, so we'd like to keep that. And then for online instruction, we would like to keep the iReady online lessons. Okay, when we did our adoption, we looked to see if any of the materials had better online instruction or a better diagnostic, and we couldn't find them. So, okay, our basal material we would like to adopt Amplify Math, which was one of half a dozen implementations of illustrative math. I'll touch on that briefly in a second. And then we would like to start math intervention this year. We've had Read 180 for years, and over the last 4 or 5 years, increasingly, we've really felt a need for an intervention program at middle school. So we would like to adopt Math 180 as our intervention program. Okay? Quick background. People have been moving away from traditional materials since before I became a teacher. Basically because every kid who graduates now is going to have 3 or 4 different careers, and almost all of them will be jobs that haven't yet been invented. So you can't just teach kids, say this is the math you will need, you've no idea what math you're going to need. So we've got to teach you how to solve problems and use math. Okay? So 13 years ago we adopted CMP, which was the first non-traditional one that we did. And that was great, except the reading level was so high that a lot of our kids struggled to understand the questions. But the last adoption, there were 3 new ones to choose from: Go Math, Carnegie, and iReady. We piloted all 3. We went with iReady, which was like a second generation. And that was a huge improvement, but we found it is still too wordy and texty. We still have kids not able to do the math problem because they're so busy trying to understand the question that they don't see the math. So we were looking at, if you like, a 3rd generation. There were 15 or 16 curricula to evaluate. So basically we started off just by crossing off, saying not that one, not that one, not that one. And we ended up with 5 or 6 curricula on our green list. And we decided to pilot 3 of those. Amplify Math, one of them, I started lesson planning, and it was like, this looked great until I started planning lessons. I didn't even teach the first lesson. Then we also piloted EdGems, and that really doesn't work for us at the middle school, which in some ways is a good thing, because if a kid is not successful in middle school, we don't want them doing more of the same when they get to the high school. Something different would be good. All right? But Amplify Math, because of a screw up at the publishers, they sent me a complete set of student workbooks. So I decided to pilot using the workbooks. Miss Arendt started out saying, well, I'll print materials, and then she said, you know what, I'm going to do the on-screen version. So she has piloted almost exclusively using the on-screen materials, and Talon Vickers has used a mix of the two. So between the three of us, we've really investigated the whole lot. I can't tell you anything about the on-screen stuff, I haven't tried it, but Andrea loves it, okay? She says kids are asking high-level questions, they're asking questions using math vocabulary that she hasn't seen before. So between the three of us, we've all said this is the one we want to go with, okay? So that's really why we're going with, we'd like to go with Amplify Math. And then for the intervention, I reached out to the Math Oregon Leaders community for recommendations, and then our special ed department took the lead on checking those out, because they work with those kids much more closely than a lot of us do. They recommended Math 180, and then all of us had a meeting with the Math 180 people. And we all said, yes, we'd like to give that a try. But we're not experts in math intervention, so we'll see how it goes. Any questions?
How long do you pilot the program?
I started piloting Amplify Math 6 weeks ago. And having started it, I said, I'm going to stay with this for the rest of the year. It's not perfect. Not every lesson in Amplify Math is better than every lesson in iReady, but on average, the kids are more engaged. They're finding the questions more approachable. I'm hearing them discuss the math more than they did before, simply because they can see what the questions are all about rather than struggling with the language. So pretty much, we've said, I mean, and actually today's lesson, I taught a lesson today out of the iReady as it happens. But by and large, we're saying, we like this for the rest of the school year, we're sticking with it, why go back? Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Go.
Mine's a single class, but it's an important one. By the time these students come to me, it's not even an accredited math class. It's pre-algebra, and 50% of them are still not even committed to memory their basic operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And so I've been piloting EdGem since Christmas, and I absolutely love it. It just has everything here that I need. I need reciprocal review. I need fluency on all of the past things they've learned and still don't know. So it incorporates geometry and data analysis throughout the entire course. So I teach them how to solve equations with exponents, and then we go right into the Pythagorean theorem, which is geometry but using how to solve with exponents. So it's just great how it just rolls right into the next thing for them. It's fun, easy to understand, it has explorations, it has online components, games, everything they need. So I love it. It's what I want. It's only one contract for me, but it is the best for me. Any questions? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions about the math curriculum? I am concerned about the lack of training. I'm hoping that teachers will have, I mean, as a former teacher, I know that we always would have the presenters come before school and show us how to do it. Then after a quarter or so, we would have a bazillion questions and they would come back. And to just say, oh, if you have time, go online and do the training.
With our recent benchmark adoption for our reading, that's how it was. Is they're just online. They have a person on their computer, so it's not like just interacting. There is a person. They just aren't in the building, and they did that. They came at the beginning and said, "This is what you're going to look at," and then later, the later training, they came back on the computer, so we could ask them questions. We could also submit them online before they came, so they were ready to.
And how did that work?
I still like in person better, but that's not an option. But
and were you given time to do that, like a work day or something?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, one of our training days, in service days, we usually did that.
I would much rather have it in person. Do you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna add on to Cheryl's that I piloted in the 5th grade with my co-teacher, who's a brand new teacher, and math is not her admitted strong suit. And we had no training, but we're very familiar now with the platform, the curriculum. We've been piloting since January. So for me, the appeal of Reveal has been that it was really easy to consume as a brand new teacher and be able to understand how the lessons were written to choose a path if you want to be teacher-led more or you want the kids to explore more. And that is the appeal to me in that curriculum of we can put a brand new teacher on this curriculum pretty quickly. And many of the teachers, I mean, we have a teacher at each grade level who's experienced it now in the elementary school and to some degree. But I agree with you that we'll need some more formal training for just the ins and outs. We don't know everything about Alex or the MAP testing yet.
And I will add that I've already been talking to the companies a bit about PD, and they definitely have talked about it's not just a one shot and you all have it type thing. It needs to be at the beginning, it needs to be a little bit later, and there needs to be training in all the diagnostic testing, in the online personalized, and in the curriculum. So.
This is an action item, so we need to vote to adopt these. Does anybody have any more questions before we vote?
I make a motion that we adopt the math curriculum as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, the motion is carried. Okay, Mr. Jacklin and David, do you have some things on high school accreditation?
All right. I wanted to start just by sharing that Ambry, when I heard that she had some questions, I did. I had to share some facts with her, and she said, "Well, should I share it with the board or not?" And it's like, whether she shares an opinion or not, I felt it was important for her to be heard, and so I did encourage her to share that. She really has two different sets of concerns. One with the 4-day week or 5-day week, and then also the whether or not we do a 7 or 8 period day. And so
she's concerned about going into June too.
Yes, the biggest one with the calendar was the loss of services on Friday for some of our students, and going so far into June. And then on the for the 7th and 8th grade day, her concern was the loss of electives. And so shared information with her. I do have a handout that will go out to our community tomorrow with kind of the talking points about 7th and 8th grade day. Luke and I have talked about that, pretty in depth. But we kind of want to make sure that we understood what the calendar was absolutely set, so we understood the impact before we made the next decision. But just know that information will be going out about that tomorrow. Okay, but that's all I'm here. Okay, so I just want to, when Lauren came up and she shared all of those activities, that's just since our last board meeting. I mean, it is like amazing every single day, the opportunities and programs that we have for our youth. And as the principal, it's like, can I take credit for that? Well, no. There's only one of me, and it doesn't go around very far. And so it's like our teachers, our coaches, our support staff that are all making that happen. And so, and when the accreditation team came, they saw that. And so our part of it, we had to provide all the data, all of the, show everything that we were doing. All the evidence, they use the word evidence. We had to show all the evidence of what we're doing. And as I got down into that evidence, it's like, man, we don't do that perfect. We don't do that perfect. We don't do anything perfect. And of course, being me, I stress and overthink. And then the accreditation team comes in, we have the conversation, we step back and we look at the whole picture, and it's really amazing. And they saw that. And so they did give us, our score was in the highest category. The highest category starts at 300, we were 307. And they gave a lot of positive feedback about the things that we were operating. And so I'll just start by saying that, so that as you look under the microscope and you look at our school, yeah, there's room for improvements, and that it definitely needs to be a continuous improvement process, and that's what they want it to be. They don't want it to be come in, grade the school, summative assessments. They want it to be a formative assessment where they come in and say, okay, this is where you're at. Let's check in, over the next couple of years and before our final review and make sure that this is meaningful and that we're reflective, that it's part of a continuous improvement process. And so I appreciated that. Actually found the process very reflective, very, very helpful. Okay, so I believe that you were given the accreditation report. And there's a lot there. And so as I was talking with David, it's like, okay, I could give him the 8-hour version, and no thank you. Or I could give them the 5-minute version. Anyway, I'm not going to do either. I'm going to just take about 15 minutes and go through it. But you have the report, and I would invite you to go through it, look at each of the standards, each of the assurance, each of the focus areas, and the recommendations. When I say that, there's 30 different standards that they're looking at. There's 7 assurances, things that we have to do to be accredited, and then there's 4 focus areas. And those focus areas are culture of learning, leadership for learning, engagement in learning, and growth in learning. And that explains it in there. So as you go through it, you'll see the assurances, and that's we had to show kind of similar to the what do they call it? The report we do.
Division 22.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you. Division 22. Thank you, Jana. So similar to the Division 22 report, you got to show evidence that you're doing each of those, and so that's what the assurances are. And then it goes into the standards. And yes, please.
So before we get into that, I just want to make sure everybody knows what accreditation is. So when students go through school and they get credits, a greater organization who overlooks most of the Northwest says, yep, those credits should count towards going to college. They should count if the student ever wants to transfer or anything like that. And we certify that the school is a school in good standing, and they're basically not just sitting in a corner making minimum wage factory things or whatever. So the accreditation reports essentially what keeps our doors open, and it's what prevents a student, if a senior were to go and their school loses accreditation, they lose all 4 years of their credits. So those credits didn't count. So it's a really, really stressful thing for a school principal. I've only seen that happen in Caldwell once, but it was a really big deal there. But essentially a group comes in, our person was out of Nevada, and they come in and they meet on Zoom with the different people, and they just kind of go over our school, everything the school has to do. We had to go through and prove, here's all the evidences of everything that we do, all 32 standards that they give us. So does that answer any questions about what accreditation is?
I appreciate that. Yes, that's part of our introduction for sure. And so Dave and I are sitting and looking at each other and thinking, okay, if this doesn't go well, we don't only get fired, but our school ceases to exist. That's kind of big.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. And so when that became, when that had to take priority over some of the other day-to-day management kids, it was to ensure that yes, we had the accreditation, that we could issue credits, but also to make sure that we were being reflective and that we were looking at how we could improve. So if you go through, you'll see the assurances, then you see each standard. As you go through the standards, it's a 4-point scale. You'll see some 4s, you'll see some 2s. It comes out about 3, And a lot of those have to do with how consistently we're doing the right things. They'll use words like regularly and constantly, consistently. And so it was, when it was a 3 and not a 4, it was like here, frequently versus consistently. And so, like, when they saw what we were doing with data, they really liked the fact that we use our F list and we use our attendance data, and that we're meeting as a grade level team, and that we're using that to do interventions for students. They really like that, but they're saying, you gotta do that more often. And so that was like the difference between a 3 and a 4, and it was really good feedback. That was one of those times where I'm thinking, no, we don't do that perfect, but we're doing it, and it's amazing, and it's helping students. So, and I'm not going to go through each of the standards, but know that there were, let's see, there were a couple 2s, and they were in the areas of stakeholder inputs involving our community, and then the consistent use of data in the classroom, data in school-wide, which is a focus for our district. We're looking at MTSS next year, the multi-tiered support system, and it's part of synergy that helps us to get all of the data that we need and use that for providing our interventions. And so it just reinforced the fact that yes, that's a tool that we need. If you go to page 24, in this section, it focuses on those 4 focus areas, and they list the evidence they found for each one, and I found that very, we were proud that they did, that they were so complimentary with that section. And so for culture of learning, it says, NISA High School leadership prioritizes cultivating a culture that embodies the values of respect, fairness, equity, and inclusion of all stakeholders, while ensuring that decisions are free from bias and support the professional growth of all staff. And so that alone, that's a huge area. But as they went through there, they looked at our PBIS, and they looked at our CT classes, and the way we use our interventions, OTI, to help students, and the way that we promote not only our CT classes, but dual credits and our college level opportunities with all staff, regardless of social economic status or nationality or disabilities. And so they're very complimentary there. The second area was leadership for learning. NHS leaders collaboratively further continuous improvement by demonstrating an authentic commitment to learner success and support by core identified priorities. And with that, they looked at kind of our evaluation system. They looked at PLCs. They looked at the different programs that we offer. They were really amazed that a school our size would have the many programs and opportunities that we have. It is very impressive. There's, as I work with Jerry Peacock for CT programs, and he says that often. He says, you're trying to do the same number of programs as schools twice your size, and he loves that. He knows the benefit of it. That's how students find learning meaningful and relevant, and helps them connect them to the next step. And then the engagement of learning. Learners at NHS are greeted with a wide variety of challenging opportunities to pursue. Greeted with a wide variety of challenging opportunities to pursue, and the necessary support to demonstrate personal motivation, curiosity, and excitement for their learning through confident participation in the process. They love the fact that along with that, they loved our YTP program, which is it's that district program. But we have we have our students, our special ed students, are actually get summer jobs, internships that they get paid for. And through those jobs, they learn not only the employability skills, but an application for the skills that they're developing in math and reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so they were very impressed with that. They also loved our the way we approach the college level opportunities, the fact that as we work with our seniors, our goal is to make sure that every student does a FAFSA, that they apply to a college, apply for a scholarship, and if possible, we get them on a campus. And so before they, and then the dual credits. And so pretty soon, we can take a student who is the first one in their family to graduate from high school. And without even realizing it, they're seeing themselves as a college student. They now have college credit. They now have been on a campus. And they get those applications back, and to their surprise, are accepted. And so that was a huge, that was a huge focus that Bobby implemented, and that's where we're continuing. And then the last one, the growth and learning. ENHS supports each learner's ability to learn through stages and interventions that are formally and systematically planned based on analyzed information, data, and instructional best practice to ensure learner success. They loved that we had our student concern list that we cross-referenced the F list and the attendance and meet with our teachers and grade level teams and try to figure out the interventions. They love that we identify students that don't have a connection and make sure that they're connected to key adults. Ambry made reference to those 4 things, and it took me a minute to remember what she was referring to. But over and over throughout our system, we talk about how for students to succeed, they must have a key adult connection, a favorite class, a club in sports, and positive peers. And that's when there's the power of our programs. For some, that's band. For some, that's welding. For some, that's nursing. Here in a couple of weeks, we'll have graduation, and you'll see me. You saw me last year. I'll be very emotional because that's when you see those 4 things, those connections and relationships help our students, and each one has overcome challenges to be where they are. Okay, so I'll skip ahead. I'm talking too much. 28, page 28. This was a summary. And actually, if you look at 29 first, it's more fun. It's simple. But the 307, we're in the above 300 range. And shows that we have areas that are noteworthy, but also areas that we, through the process, identified areas for improvements that we're looking for a plan. And so it actually qualified us to not have a formal review for 6 more years. However, Cognia has many resources and supports that we can use, and so we're going to be checking in, I think they said 3 times a year, just for the reflection. Just for reflection, and as we share what we're doing, they can say, yeah, we have a tool for that, or yeah, this is what other schools are doing that works. And so, once again, with the focus being on a continuous process, not a one-time event. So, summary of findings, that the noteworthy practice, and the standards underneath, it shows 4 different standards supported that claim. It says the leadership at NHS nurtures and sustains a healthy culture for learning. Within a diverse community of learners, the school is committed to creating, supporting, and celebrating lifelong learners who value themselves, contribute to their community, and succeed in a changing world. The school's mission and core values are present in all decisions made by the leadership team. And to me, that was quite a compliment. I was very proud that they came to that conclusion. That's what we strive to do. That is our mission statements, and when they say that we apply that in our values as we make decisions and try to do what's best for students, then that was reassuring that we're on the right track. Then they have the areas for improvements. says gathered to segregate and analyze longitudinal assessment data, both formative and summative, to evaluate learner response to instruction and learner achievements of desired learning targets, so that the overall effectiveness and impact of continuous improvement goals and action steps will be enhanced over time. Now that's a long statement. So basically, they want to make sure that we're using our assessment data, that we're using both formative assessments and summative assessments and state assessment data, and we're integrating that into our practice, both at the school level through PLCs, but also at the classroom level, so that our teachers are constantly looking at, you know, that are the students learning or not? How do I adjust? How do I adjust my pace, my manner of delivery, the different strategies and learning activities to make it work? And so that's something that we'll continue to focus on. There were times when we were doing our evidence and we would talk about what we're doing. We didn't always have the data to show that it was a need or the data to show that it's working. And so that's once again where I'm excited to do the MTSS program next year. The second one, develop and implement a system of multiple classroom observations, and they list some tools to gather and analyze the engagement of each learner in classroom learning activities, so that the longitudinal data is available to assess and support the identification of learning targets and monitor individual progress. So they're saying, okay, you're doing your observations, you're doing your evaluations, let's do more of it. Let's get you in the classroom, let's collect that data and that data tool so that we can look at increasing student engagement, which I welcome that input. If you look at the rationale below, they say a strategic classroom observation schedule will support continuous improvement efforts to listen to student voice and amplify learning-centered conditions at NHS. And so that's something that we can continue to work on. And then the third is all about family engagement. Research, initiate, and evaluate a variety of ways that families can engage with NHS to promote the academic growth and well-being of their learners. And they saw that we are. We have parent-teacher conferences, we have our back-to-school nights, and we meet with parents to schedule and for FAFSA. But they'd like to see more of it. And then when we make decisions, like whether it's calendar or it's 7-8 period day, they want more input. They want to see surveys over time to show that improvements in parent input. And I was, when Ambry was up here, someone asked me, when are you going to share that with parents? Tomorrow, I'm waiting for the calendar. And that was a perfect example. It's like, yeah, we get the information out there, but can we involve more parents in a more timely manner? And so those are areas that we can continue to focus on. Overall, I was super proud of what they found. We did see a lot of areas, both in the reports and not, that where improvement was needed, and that's something that we'll strive for. But I'm once again reminded that it doesn't have to be perfect to be amazing. And when I hear Lauren share all of those activities and her experience and say, I can't imagine being somewhere else and not being a bulldog, I'm thinking, yeah, that's what it's about. Our school made a difference for Lauren and many of the other students that attend our school. So, anyway, I think I've said enough, but yes, we will continue to focus on school improvement. As you go through this, if you have questions, individual questions, I know that Pat and I are going to talk. But also, if you want to go over the standards or things in detail, then we could do a work session and spend more time with it. But for now, I think that's a good overview. David, what did I miss? Anything?
It's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose. There's a lot there. It's hard to know exactly what information you guys will want without overloading it. But do you guys have any questions?
I got a quick question. In reading this, it seems like they really praise a lot of our extras. You know, the CTE, the different programs that we have, the dual credit, all those things. You touched on 7 and 8 periods. Will all that be as easily available for the 7 period school day?
So
I know I'm kind of going off in left field, but at the same time,
no, it's a
that's
timely
what
issue.
we're getting praised on here.
It's a timely issue, and I did bring in a handout for you. It's the one that's going out to parents tomorrow. I wanted to hand it out at the end, right now, because I didn't want it to be a distraction. But that is my conversation with Ambry. That was the conversation. It wasn't don't go to the school board, you don't share my opinion. It wasn't, no, you gotta think the way I think. It was, here are the two sides, okay? On one side, I'm saying, no, students have to be able to have that favorite class, that key teacher, that club sports and positive peers. So let's offer them as much as we can. And over here, I'm saying, man, with our new calendar and taking 7 days of instruction out of our calendar, 7 less days, I need to increase the length of the classes in order to cover the curriculum and do it in a way that students can be successful. Currently, when we look at the F list, when we look at the data, like Cognia wants us to, we see that 85% of our students pass all their classes. That 15% are failing one or more class. Of those 15%, 60% of them are failing a single class. And so the idea is, okay, we've got to make sure that we're allowing a class period that sets them up for success, that allows the labs, that allows the hands-on work, that allows the guided practice, and that allows us to cover the curriculum at a reasonable pace, but still cover it. And so, you know, as I worked with my teachers, are saying 46 minutes is not enough. And then, you know, when I talked to Luke, and I said, Luke, what are you seeing? And he says, well, skill development. If they're going to be successful, they've got to develop the skills. If I have less days, less time, they're not going to be ready for the next grade level. They're not going to get a year of growth in a year. And so, but those are two opposing viewpoints, and that was our conversation today in my office. So let me hand this out. It does explain the logic of what is gained by going to a 7-period day. It also talks about how it impacts different groups of our students at the high school, and how we would try to minimize the impact so that we are still helping students to take the right classes. And so I don't think we probably want to take any more time with that unless you have questions. But if you read through that, and then as a group, as you have concerns, please provide the feedback. One other key data point is 29% of my seniors have a full schedule. That means all the other, I don't do math on the spot, 71%, have either home release or work release or part day because they chose it. We did include religious release and a teacher aide class. We did include those as full schedules, and so that 29% is actually higher than it would be otherwise. And so it's looking at this and saying, okay, if only 29% of my seniors are using every opportunity to take a class, then maybe it's not such a big loss to slow down and have them take fewer classes with an emphasis on passing those classes. Our system currently allows students to fail 8 classes instead of graduate. It might help my graduation rates, not really, because I think once you fail one class in your capacity, for learning is decreased. If I failed my first math class in high school, then you're going to continue failing classes. You gotta have that learning capacity. You gotta build that. They've got to believe that they can succeed and their efforts are going to make a difference. Anyway, I've talked a lot. Look at it, please. As I'm working with Luke, we're kind of waiting to see the final calendar and the number of days that are lost in instruction, and use that to make the 7-day period day decision. Luke, am I putting words in your mouth?
That's what you describe it, yeah.
Okay. And so we're not to the point of making that decision, but yes, we're looking at the benefits of the 7-period day and 8 period.
And so to address your question, one of the things Cognia looks at is not just the number of programs that you offer, but within those programs, are you allowing students to kind of choose their own learning experiences and things like that? And so while we may not necessarily have the same number of programs, we definitely could still have the same amount of opportunities for students to better use, for example, technology. In our classrooms right now, the Chromebooks are used on a more basic level, and we could be using those to do a lot more discovery and helping them to be curious about things and stuff like that. So that's not like the only thing that they're looking at.
When we look at next year, we look at where we want to be. Our goal, we talked a little bit in board meetings before about our key indicators. Regular attenders, meaning the percentage of students that have 90% attendance, the 9th grade on track, the graduation rates, and then passing all classes, and our goal is to have 90% in all those areas. And then using the feedback from Cognia to get there. And so, so part of this is looking at the bigger picture. Does a 7-period or an 8-period day help us move towards those goals? And so, anyway, I've talked enough. I do welcome the extended conversation with the 7th and 8th period day when the time comes. Are there any other questions?
Brett, I do have a question. And it's a simple little technical question. Areas for improvement, as I went through the standards, things that had level 2 or were rated 2 were the things that were listed on areas for improvement. Except for standard 12, which has 3 stars, and it's graded here in number 2 as an area for improvement. I was going to ask you about that, just to explain that. You don't have to explain it to me now.
Which standards, so I can circle it?
Standard 12.
Okay.
So one of the things that they do is they work it through themes, and so this theme, when it says standard 12, is just addressing a greater picture. So what it's saying is, like, here's these 2 areas you need to improve, here's an area you're doing well, but you still need to improve this overall theme.
Okay, well, it just seemed kind of interesting to me that things that were marked at a 2 are the things that are on the areas for improvement, except for number 12, standard 12. And so I just wanted sort of a little explanation, but I'll get that for you when I.
Yep, and we can always call Deborah and ask her too. So, great, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I would just, so I've been kind of involved with just some of the board and stuff. Is there going to be any time for community members to express their opinions or concerns with changing the whole dynamic of our school, like all these 7 to 8 period day? Kind of like the kids have explained tonight, like will there be any input from community members on this at all at any point in time, or just a question I have for the board?
I would like to do a parent meeting, and we wanted to schedule it last week, and then it's like, oh my goodness, when? There's so much crammed into this month. And so, and knowing, here's an example of how this accreditation report goes, okay? They are saying that we need more info with that lens. This request, of course, is very, very appropriate. And so I will gladly have a parent meeting.
It seems like the kids know that this change is going to be made, but nobody in the community knows. Because it hasn't been part of your surveys or anything. It's just been 5 day to 4 day, And now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we took 4 day, now we're kind of like tracking backwards, like, oh, well now we have to do this and we have to do this. And it's affecting a lot more things than the community was really, at least me personally as a community member, was really expecting to happen. Because that's never been a part of anything that's changing. Because I just have concerns that I would like to express at some point, as I've been united at some point, over how my kids have been to the school and what I appreciate at the school and the things that they've been able to allow my kids to do.
So you will have a parent meeting?
And just to clarify, so within the 4 day week or the 5 day week, either one of those calendars can have a 7 or 8 period schedule.
Yeah, yes, I just want to make sure
But as you go to a 4 day week, the benefits of a 7 period day are magnified. And so yes, part of that is having the data. So when I go to parents and I say, okay, here's our scenario, then if the calendar is changed after that, then the information I provide is obsolete. And so the timing of that's been problematic. But I will gladly have a meeting with parents, and I would love the input. And we're focusing a lot on the high school, but there's an impact on the middle school too. If we change schedule, they have to, and vice versa, because we share 10 staff members. So, yeah, so I can do that.
Mr. Jackman, will your parent meeting be only for high school parents, or will it be for middle school as well?
We can make it. We can do it for the community. Yeah, yeah. If it's for the middle school, I might have to have Excel. So because I don't pretend to understand the impact on middle school the way he would.
Just saying, because the students that presented shared not only what they have going on right now, but then their younger siblings that are coming up.
And then the only question is two issues. We have a calendar and have that set, and so we know exactly how it impacts our instructional hours and our students. And then from there, we can have the discussion about 7 or 8.
Thank you.
What avenue is the parent flyer coming out through? Is it going to be a link in a text? Is it going to be, like, what's the avenue that it's coming out tomorrow?
What works best for you? What I thought is...
I just want to know so I can keep my eyes open for it and tell other people where it's coming from.
I thought was a link in a text.
Okay. Right.
Instead of blowing up your phone with this many characteristics in both languages.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll do a link, and then we'll provide you to the shared document.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that then.
Right.
Anything else? Okay, the next item we have is our board vacancy. We have position 6 available. Will expire in 2 years. So if you want to look at the calendar and give some input on how long, if we open it tonight or tomorrow, is that when you have to do it, Megan? To announce it tomorrow?
Yeah, you just probably announce.
Okay, and then how long do we want to leave it out? 2 weeks, 10 days?
It's 2 weeks. It's 10 work days.
Okay, so if we open it tomorrow on the 9th, close it on the 23rd, is that okay? So do we have a problem with that? Okay, and then, so the deadline will be on the 23rd? Okay, and then we'll need to set a time when we can have a work session to review those applications and maybe do some interviews. And it needs to be done before the next board meeting, is that?
The next board meeting is June 12th. So there's the 29th or the
5th.
May or
The 29th is a holiday.
Yeah,
That's
Memorial Day. It doesn't have to be a Monday, but we typically do Monday, so.
So do we want to do the 5th? Does anybody have an objection to that? No. Okay, so if you want to write that for your calendars on the 5th, we'll review, if we get those, maybe as soon as you get the applications, if you could forward them to us and then we could decide. Depends on how many we have to interview. You know, if we only have to interview a couple,
Should we plan to start about 6?
Okay, 6. Okay, that sound good with everyone? I just wanted to remind board members that Wednesday is the awards assembly, and we are going to give out the board scholarships. Who else planning on being here? Okay, we can all decide when we get there who's going to give what to that. Do we need to introduce our new principal and vice principal?
Thank you for doing that. I would like to do that. So,
do you want to do it?
Sure, I will. Shane Pratt, would you stand up? This is Shane Pratt is our new elementary school principal for next year. Shane Pratt. And, we're happy to have him with us. And Jana Iverson is our new high school vice principal.
And I'd also like to thank Mr. Carlton's food service class. Where did he go? He left for making all the wonderful goodies. And just board members keep was it the 28th graduation on your calendar so that we can all be there and help hand out diplomas.
It is
At 1 o'clock, and so we should be here like between 12 and 12:30 so we can divide seawalls there and divide it up. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Do you have a minute to hear from the teacher?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I know it has been very much brought to light that this calendar thing has got to be figured out because the kids got to choose their classes in the 7th and 8th period day. But looking back and I did watch the last board meeting, but I wasn't able to be here. But I'm taking a college class, HB, 4:30. Yeah. But I'm done now. But anyway, I want to make sure you knew that not one teacher saw those calendars that was represented that we had a certain opinion on. We saw 7 calendars way back when. And so when I said, hey, I'm going to the school board meeting today, if anyone wants me to say something, I will. And I had a whole bunch of teachers come up to me and say, not one of us were interested in extending the school year. There were several, I'd rather go back to what we had before and do the 5-day week when some of them had voted for the 4-day week before. I know that on the 4-day calendar, the concern was to lose that OTI time and as a parent of a high school student with disabilities, he needs that time, and I don't want that lost. But we were told that because the union says, the contract says we have 8 hours, but every single teacher I talked to said, oh, with a 4-day week, we just assumed that would be extended, that the contract would be amended somehow so we could say, we'll work an extra 20 minutes every day or an extra 30 minutes every day to keep the problems or whatever, and in exchange for the Friday. Or if we're talking about, hey, we need to be like other schools, well, Adrian has those RSD days, and I know there's good and bad about that. But and your decision may have already been made because I understand it has to be done and it has to go forward. But I want to let you know that not one teacher that I've spoken to is in favor of going extra days into the summer. And a lot of us feel like our voice was not heard on that it was just somebody's representation, and I don't know where that number came from. So I don't know if there are some ways we can look at that, if it's too late to look at a possibility of saying, hey, could we as teachers say we're willing? Because every teacher I talked to said, I was assumed we were going to have to stay 30 extra minutes, that our day would be extended. Is there a way to do that, or are we as teachers tied by that contract? Or as we as teachers able to say, we want to supersede that contract for this year until the next negotiation? I don't know if it's available, but it's just the voices that I heard from the teachers, and I said I would bring that here.
Thank you, we appreciate Anything else for the good of the order?
May I ask something? The meeting to review the applications, what time?
We said 6 o'clock on 6 hours.
And I'd like to just say maybe we need to have a work session on the calendar
I agree.
again.
I agree. I think there's enough concern about it that we need to. I don't want to. I don't want to bring it back up. I hate the calendar. But do we need to talk about it?
But when does it have to be done so that schedules and things can get ready for each student?
Last month. 2 months ago. So, you know,
I don't know.
I think we can still talk about it.
Certainly we can. By policy, the school district policy is that the board will adopt a calendar by the April board meeting, which you did. And that, you know, there's been a lot of unfortunate, and many of the teachers have emailed me. So we formed a calendar committee thinking we would be involving more people and making it a more open process, a more informative process. And unfortunately, it didn't work out quite that way. A lot of confusion about the different calendars that were presented. And, yes.
So then you left that board meeting saying that if we couldn't come to a consensus on a 4-day, the board had given itself the right to go back to a 5-day, which we already have the calendar for, and give us enough time to do this better. And give us I'm gonna throw something personal in there. I don't even know when I can go to travel this summer because I don't know when the first day of school is at this point. I think the compelling points made by Cheryl, by the high school members are, we're not ready to go to this.
I believe we need to have a work session to talk about it. There's a lot.
Even if it's taking the one that was chosen and tweaking it. I don't know.
Because my understanding was moving to a 7th period would allow us to shorten the school year so we wouldn't have to go 2 weeks after the school.
So we had those 4 options last month, if you all remember. Four options. I'm trying to remember. Where's Hawkins? Anyway, he was the one that presented himself. There were 3 options. There were 3 options of calendars. And then there was the 5-day, the traditional 5-day. So anyway, a process that we thought was very involved, took a lot of different people from every different building, ended up being not as informative as we had hoped, right? And the problem is, I had somebody tell me one time, forming a committee is wonderful, except everybody then has a voice, and then it's a lot harder to solve that problem because a calendar, I do believe that no matter what calendar you choose, not everybody is going to be happy. You know, at some point, we have to make a decision and move forward and figure it out. So if we're going to meet as a board, the board would like to meet as a study session, it needs to be as soon as possible.
The issue was we got 7 calendars, we all started asking questions, and we were told, wait, that'll all come out. Please stop asking questions. We don't have the details. After we get our main choices, then you'll get an option. And I'm just saying, we never saw those. Those were prepared the day before the board meeting.
To be fair to this board, you never
never
saw the calendars you were voting on before you voted for 4 days. I think that was the backwards process, personally. We haven't evaluated all the effects of this calendar to change to 4 days developmentally for elementary students to lose a day of school and be home alone, all the way up to the high school to lose a class period, and the middle school being impacted by 10 shared staff. There's just so many red flags. It seems very rushed.
The shared staffs regardless. We've always shared some stuff.
Sure.
So when do we want to have a work session to discuss this?
That's Mondays.
The 15th?
Question, why is a 4-day even being considered?
Because everybody wanted it. There were a lot of people that
speak up, because my hearing aids don't pick up.
Because a lot of the other schools in the area.
So everybody else is doing it, so we're supposed to do it. If somebody else jumps in front of a truck, so everybody's supposed to jump in front of the truck too? We tried this once before, it didn't work. So why are we going back to it?
Yes, go ahead.
Only thing I know is that my daughter who's in high school says that there's some teachers who spoke in class saying, go home and tell your parents that we only want a 4-day school week. So if you've got teachers that are saying that, and I've got a kid who's like, I'm cool with going to school 5 days. I mean, personally, I think 5 days is more beneficial for all the kids to learn no matter what grade you're in. But when you've got teachers, and I'm not throwing any under the bus, but when they've said it and my daughter comes home and says, these teachers say, well, we want to work at a school where there's only 4 days because all the schools in the area have 4 days. I mean, I don't know, that's from a 17-year-old kid.
Okay, so we will meet Monday the 15th at 6 o'clock for discussion.
A work session on it.
Work session on it. All right, this meeting is adjourned.
You were a teacher when we did that the last time we went through that reporting.
I voted against it. I was the only one. I voted for 5 days. You just didn't vote for it. No. But I voted for a 5-day week.
Yeah. All the other grade.
There's no way. I liked the 4.5 week.
Jeremy, were you in school when you had 45-day week?
I was before that.
He was very quiet. Very quiet.
Megan? I think we have to get that.
I emailed myself.
Okay, so if you like a city change, so that we just tell me and I'll put you on board.
I will make Chad go to the meeting.
Next Monday?
Huh?
You can't now?
Well, I will make Chad go to the meeting this week.
Okay, because it's not